Does it actually exist? What have the experts found? Why has the existence of Planet 9 not been confirmed yet? Why is it so hard to find? Where do comets actually originate? Well, for a long time, many experts believe that a giant, mysterious planet is hidden in the furthest reaches of the solar system. A few years ago, US astronomers discovered a series of strange anomalies in the Kuiper belt that point to the existence of a large celestial body. As a result, the search for Planet 9 has gained new momentum. In order to narrow down this rather rough location, Dutch astronomer Jan Hendrik Oort proposed a bowl-shaped zone at the edge of the solar system in 1950 that serves as a reservoir for common nuclei. However, Oort's cloud was only able to explain the orbits of long-period comets. In order to decipher the background of their short-period counterparts, a further approach was required, which astronomer Gerard Kuiper provided the following year. Ultimately, though, it would take another 40 years before the existence of the isolated Kuiper belt was acknowledged. This ring-shaped structure of ice debris may contain more than simply comets. It stretches just past the orbits of Neptune and Pluto. The Kuiper belt has long been thought to conceal something much larger, a massive planet that orbits far beyond Neptune's orbit, in addition to icy fragments and tiny planets. Successfully managed to hide itself from our terrestrial gaze, but how? Is this even possible? Can it really be that we have simply overlooked a member of our planetary system for thousands of years? Well, actually, it is the planetary mystery is said to be so far away from us that no telescope has yet been able to capture it. So where the object of desire appears invisible, other paths must be taken to crack the cosmic puzzle. And if anyone knows how to rewrite the maps of space, it is the American astronomer Michael Brown. In fact, Brown has been searching for icy worlds at the edge of the solar system. For some time now, he named the largest one he has found so far, AIS, and with the discovery of the dwarf planet, Brown made a significant contribution to knocking Pluto out of the ranks of planets in 2006. Interesting to know the astronomer has been on X as Pluto Killer, but perhaps his account will need a new name update in the foreseeable future. According to the account, the objects that Brown referred to as distant detached objects formed the basis of a research study that led Rodney Gomez's team to a groundbreaking conclusion in 2006. A completely unknown planet could actually be slumbering in the extreme world of the Kuiper belt on the hunt for Planet 9, and Brown subsequently also took part in the planet hunt at full speed in 2016. The Pluto Killer teamed up with his colleague Constantin Batan to investigate the question of what the unusual orbits of some Kuiper belt objects were all about, and lo and behold, 6 of these objects follow an elliptical orbit that points in the same direction, even though all the bodies move at different speeds, and their orbits are not the same size. The collective orbital inclinations are no less striking. The orbits of all 6 celestial bodies deviate by around 30 from the orbital plane of the remaining planets and objects in the solar system. It was immediately clear to Brown that this simply could not be a coincidence. He put the corresponding probability of this at 0.7%. Since the Kuiper belt would have to be 100 times more massive than it is based on the investigations, the astronomers' initial explanation, the gravitational effect of several heavy objects, such as a collection of dwarf planets, was quickly disproved in the model calculations that followed. After conducting additional simulations, Brown and Batacan came to the exciting conclusion that all of the anomalies could be explained by the existence of a planet roughly 9 out of 10 meters in size, whose orbit is 180 degrees different from all of the other planets and Kuiper belt objects. Although this perplexing orbital geometry initially left the researchers perplexed, they eventually realized that an increasing number of observations were consistent with the existence of such a planet. For instance, the orbits of the trans-Neptunian object Sedna and another large celestial body could also be perfectly explained by the presence of an unidentified planet, which is why we have not yet discovered. According to astronomers' calculations, Planet 9 has a mass of about 10 Earth masses and circles the Sun between 400 and 1500 astronomical units away. Just to refresh your memory, an astronomical unit is the length of the average distance between the Earth and the Sun, or roughly 150 million kilometers. While our blue home planet is known to take 365 days to orbit our central star, Planet 9 is estimated to take up to 20,000 years. This is because of its distant orbit, which makes the mysterious celestial body inaccessible to our standard telescopes most of the time. In addition, a team from the University of Bern has calculated that Planet 9's intrinsic luminosity is only 0. So 6 Neptune has a value of 0.01 in this category. But that's not all. Planet 9's small amount of radiation may also be primarily in the infrared range, meaning that its temperature would need to be about 47 Kelvin, or 226 degrees C, which would make it only about 37 degrees warmer than its cosmic surroundings. Nevertheless, even with all of this, it's still possible that the unidentified member of our home system could still be discovered. If the planet is currently near its closest point to the Sun, it may have even gone undetected in previous sky surveys images. Although the reflecting telescope is still being built and is expected to be commissioned by March 2025 at the latest, even if the existence of the celestial body were to be confirmed during future research missions, we would not only be one planet richer, but also have some important questions. If, on the other hand, Planet 9 were much closer to the Sun, the groundbreaking bullseye could have landed with the aid of a powerful telescope like the Vera S.E. Rubin Observatory. The formation problem. According to conventional wisdom, large planets form where the primordial cloud provides enough matter. This makes sense because the gas and dust reservoir there is only enough to gradually form ever larger chunks, and eventually planets. However, this is exactly where things get complicated in the case of Planet 9, which orbits far outside the zone where the primordial cloud had enough material for planetary giants. What a celestial body that is 10 times heavier than the Earth, and only slightly smaller than Neptune is doing in such a remote and eccentric orbit, is very difficult to explain with our current models of planetary formation. It is also very difficult to explain the fact that according to a simulation, Planet 9 must have a similar structure to Neptune. According to this, we are dealing with an ice giant with a solid core, half of which consists of iron and rock, and the other half of water ice. The outer layer of ice is in turn surrounded by a dense gas shell of helium and hydrogen, and that is precisely the problem. In fact, Planet 9 could only have built up this envelope if it had been in the gas-rich heart of the primordial cloud for a sufficiently long time. And yet if Planet 9 really exists, then it must have formed somehow. With this in mind, astronomers are currently discussing 3 different scenarios that could have paved the way for the planet's birth. The first approach is based on the assumption that the planet formed on the spot, whereby it originally still had a normal, almost circular orbit in the planetary plane. The passage of a nearby star then led to Planet 9 drifting into its current exotic orbit. However, this scenario also presupposes something that is not consistent with our current models. The primordial cloud of the Sun would have had to have been significantly larger and longer-lived than generally assumed. However, the evidence that the gas nebulae disintegrated again just 4 million years after its formation seems to speak against this theory. In addition, Planet 9 would probably have been completely ejected from our system as a result of its stellar dichotomy. However, the second model is also based on a stellar approach in detail. The siblings of the young Sun could have led to the fact that we are now one planetary puzzle richer. According to this model, the star cluster to which our young host star belonged was torn apart by galactic tidal forces, and the stellar family was separated from each other before that. However, the Sun could have stolen Planet 9 from one of its siblings. According to one simulation, the planet would have had to have been in a very wide orbit around the stolen neighboring star, but as our early central star approached within the star cluster to around 150 AU, its gravity caught the celestial body all in all. However, astronomers put the probability of this planet theft at just 5%. According to this theory, the third and final scenario seems a little more promising. Planet 9, like Jupiter, Saturn, Uranus and Neptune, formed in the inner regions of the primordial cloud. After a few gravitational interactions and turbulence, the large celestial bodies were then guided onto orbits that were much farther out. As the outermost representative, after being forced the farthest away, Planet 9 was ultimately launched into an eccentric orbit. The crux of the matter, however, is that Planet 9 would have been thrown completely out of the solar system again, unless it was slowed down by the dense gas of the primordial cloud or a nearby star passage, and indeed a discovery outside the solar system shows that this is entirely possible in detail. Astronomers have tracked down an exoplanet that orbits its double star system in a similarly extreme orbit as postulated for Planet 9. A good 335 light-years away from us, the gas giant HD. 40696b orbits its two stars at an inclination of 36 to 44 degrees, approaching them to no more than 500 AU. As a result, the exoplanet also provides proof that such exotic and extremely distant orbits are actually real. What's more, in the corresponding system, there are clear indications that the comet belt and the outer dust disk are unevenly distorted. This in turn could indicate that the exoplanet was only brought into its orbit later, exactly as is assumed for Planet 9. However, the existence of Planet 9 has not yet been confirmed. The galactic search continues at full speed, and astronomers hope that new and more powerful telescopes, such as James Webb, will soon help to finally crack this planetary missing persons case. Fortunately, the case of the missing subscription button can be cracked very quickly. It is hidden directly below our video and is already waiting for you to click on it. So join our community now and never miss an exciting video from us again.